Hey everybody, and welcome to 2018. What a better way to start off than with a good old Addicted to Loot podcast. Oh, welcome everyone, one and all. For all of those who do not know who we are, it's a new year, so we might as well reintroduce ourselves. We are Addicted to Loot. We are one half myself, Brian, aka Atomic Zero, and one half my great, awesome buddy and co-host over there, who's over my left now, Tom, aka Tamauti.
What am I doing over here?
Ality. And
I love what you've done with the place.
I know, it's really great, isn't it? I kind of spiffied it up a little bit. We both kind of were very busy over the break, and we will get to that in just a few minutes. But Addicted to Loot is, well, we're a giant PC gaming entertainment conglomerate, as I always like to say.
Giant.
We are growing.
That one's a fabrication.
We are growing at an alarming rate, Tom. It is a aggressive takeover, left and right. But no. We specialize on specifically our weekly gaming podcast, which is what we're doing right now. You can catch it both on audio as well as video and live at twitch.tv/addictedtoloot if you ever want to chat with us live and be a part of this awesome, amazing podcast. With that, we also run a awesome website designed by that guy over there, Tom, who did an amazing job with it. From there, you can get a hold to just about anything involved with Addicted to Loot. That is our Facebook page, YouTube page, all of our audio hosting, video hosting, our partnerships. Many people do not know this, but we actually are partnered with two amazing companies. We are actually partnered with Green Man Gaming as well as Humble Bundle. Green Man Gaming is kind of like another discount store for PC gaming, for almost like Steam, but with discounts continuously instead of just on the winter and summer sales. And Humble Bundle is a amazing company that goes towards amazing causes. So Humble Bundle, you can go out and find a set of games or a single game. Now that they have the Humble Bundle store, you can purchase a game at a cheaper price, pay for what you want at the price you want to give, and it goes towards an amazing charity. So please go to our website or below our Twitch page right now, or even on our Twitter to check either of those out. You can get to them.
I'm doing it right now. You could be like me. Oh,
don't be like me. Be like he.
Don't be like that guy.
Be that guy.
That guy.
And all proceeds then go to just supporting Addicted to Loot. They both go towards our partnerships. So
some proceeds. Some proceeds.
Whatever it is.
Some proceeds.
They do go back to us to keep us doing what we want to do. Realistically, it just goes towards things like the amazing graphics, as you might be able to see from our countdown page, our current OBS layout as we're both sitting in it right now, as a few other things that you're going to be seeing. I actually was busy this winter and actually commissioned some work for all of our graphics to kind of get an overhaul of our Twitch. If it's really the main thing that got overhauled as part of all of this is mainly our Twitch banners and images and backgrounds and hosting.
Oh boy,
screens,
is it something!
everything.
Like this is sharp. I love this.
Yeah, this is incredible stuff. So big, huge shout out. He might not ever see this to Hansa Graphics over on Fiverr. So we're actually, I'll probably put a big link shout out down below under our Twitch page and maybe on our website, just to kind of, in case everyone likes to look at the page, go check him out. He does some really cool stuff, really reasonable, super quick turnaround. He literally did all of this within the span of 24 hours when I sent the request over.
Holy crap.
I know, it was
kudos.
Incredible. So, really great guy. Thank you very much. If you ever see this, thank you once again. So, Tom, did you have a great New Year's? Did you do all the fun things? I saw a picture of you in the giant holiday festive sweater playing out, rocking out on the guitar, doing your thing.
I play for the past few years. I've been playing with my folks on New Year's at a big New Year's Eve festival over in Vermont. It's this kind of multi-venue, multi-band kind of thing. Actually, it's funny because I got double booked, not at the same event, although that has happened before.
Wait, so the same event booked you twice to perform at the same event?
At the Lancaster Fair, I was playing both at the end.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
At one end with my parents, and at the other end with my rock group. One each hour apart. It was like 4 performances in a row, completely different genres, running from one end of the fairground to the other, which was really funny. Wouldn't recommend it, but it was fun for the year that I actually juggled both. But yeah, no, it was a fun festival over there, and had a good time with catching up with some friends, some music friends. So that was a good time. Besides that, I've actually just been like, it's funny. I've been like a mix of lazing out completely, like an unprecedented level of doing nothing, flipping to doing literally everything in one go. It's that kind of like, I want to be hyper productive and do everything on earth. Now I want to sleep for 4 days straight.
Yep.
So,
well, it's a perfect time to do it in too.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's kind of like that feeling of waking up and being like, oh my God, I'm actually not going to have anything to do today. I'm going to do everything, you know?
And plus, the world is trying to freeze us out. So, I mean, it's...
Holy shit, it is going to be like 25 below as like a high on Saturday. And I know that that's almost the same Fahrenheit or Celsius. So no matter where you are in the world, you know how ass cold it's going to be up here.
And the funny part is, it's like, do you want to do anything that involves leaving the house? No, because even the few feet out to the car is punishing.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. I'm gonna be running sound for a show on Saturdays, so that's gonna be interesting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and we both had.
How was your New Year's?
What'd you do? Good. We actually went to a coworker's place to watch the Patriots game. For all those who love the Patriots, I know you're probably all screaming at me and flipping off right now. We love you too.
We do live in New England, so we have an actual reason to support.
So please don't be completely and utterly angry. But that was really the main part from there. I mean, the countdown to the New Year's involved me waking up my wife right before the countdown so she could do the countdown, and then we both went to bed.
5, 4, 3.
Basically, is kind of what it was. So we extremely lively New Year's.
It was funny because this event that I was at, typically people gather. There is a giant ball that's on a crane, and they have the countdown and stuff. And it was really funny because it said 2017 on the ball, giant, huge ball. And we're all standing out there in these sub-zero temperatures, like, great, okay, let's go, let's get this going. And starts counting down, 59, 58, 57, 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. And then at 0, it said 2017. And everyone was like, no, I'm done with
We're
this.
Cursed.
I'm done with 2017. So, yeah, that was like starting the year off on the right foot with this kind of like surreal moment of, wait, have we just like...
Did someone have to go and tap it a few times and be like, ding,
yeah.
ding, ding.
Well, they just kind of like gently lowered it, like, yeah, that's done. Happy New Year.
Someone had one job.
Yeah, that's what my dad said. He was like, oh boy, someone's getting a talking to. But no, it's 2018 now, and a lot of people are actually really like, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but like the past year was viewed as this kind of varying degrees of a dumpster fire for people, and for a number of different reasons. And a lot of people are really motivated going into this new year, which
it's gonna be different.
Really cool. Well, I have my cynicism about that kind of stuff, but if people are motivated, cool. If you need New Year's as your motivator, go for it.
I mean, motivation throughout the year of every year is a sine wave. It's like, New Year's, oh my god, it's great. Nope, it's the same old shit. But I'm going to still turn it around. And nope, it's still the same old shit.
At the end of every single year, I've seen people saying, well, next year it's going to be different. And you know what? Again, it's like, fair enough. Fine. That's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
But the transition from 2017 to 2018 did bring us the Steam Winter Sale, and it was great. So
I actually spent my Steam bucks. I bought games. Yes, I bought. I did the thing of buying about 6 or 7 games. I use this as my, with the exception of one game, I use this as my, okay, I'll just finally get that game.
Yeah, that's what I usually used to.
So I got Prey. That was the big one that I really was
like,
I want to get Prey, and it's like that or the Dishonored Death of the Outsider DLC were both about the same price. And I was like, when I get to Dishonored 2, I'm going to have the experience of playing the base game first anyway, so Prey I have a sooner chance of getting to. So I ended up getting that. I also got the original Planescape Torment. It's the enhanced edition of it, but that's the 1997 game that led to Torment Tides of Numenera, which is a game I rambled on forever about last year. Absolutely loved it. So I got the original one. Finally got Elite Dangerous. Finally just straight up bought Elite Dangerous. Yeah.
I have to dust my copy off because I'm not even sure. I think I still technically own it.
Well, I've been playing I don't think you disown a game. You haven't played this for a year. We're taking it back.
Because I thought I bought it through Elite Dangerous website itself. I don't think I bought it through Steam.
Oh, well,
it's
you might have to re-download
somewhere in the ether or something like that. But yeah, I gotta polish mine
somewhere
off,
in space.
Especially considering I have VR now. It'd be interesting to try it.
Yeah, I've been having so much fun playing American Truck Simulator that I thought, I'm ready to experience this in space. I bought Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People, which I never actually played.
That
like
came
on the
out
Wii.
I was in college because I remember my
It was like 10 years ago.
My roommate got it for the Wii.
Yeah, I never actually played it, so I said, oh, I love Homestar Runner. I got to get that. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I remember when that came out.
That's still on like one of my top RPGs to playlist.
Mm-hmm. I saw that, and I was like, yeah, I should finally get that.
I've heard such amazing things about it.
Yeah. The Longest Journey, which is the first in the Dreamfall series. These are games that I keep seeing popping up like narrative. The Longest Journey is a point-and-click game. Then the second one is Dreamfall, The Longest Journey? Something like that. And then the third one just recently came out. And so they're kind of these just narrative adventures, sort of modern day mixed with alternate reality stuff. I love that shit. And one that I've been wanting to get since like last year, Burly Men at Sea. This is an adorable, absolutely
another
adorable
dater.
No. That would be so perfect. Burly Men at Sea dating sim.
They all look the same.
Just all these beardy men. No, you date the blonde one or that? No. It's a game that looks like a children's book. It's sort of a choose your own adventure kind of game, but the art is this beautiful, like that type of like you've gone into a bookstore in a small town and you're looking kind of like through the stuff and you're like, oh my god, this is so imaginative and beautiful and very minimalist. And this is one that just constantly keeps popping up in my radar. So I finally got that as well. That'll probably be the first one I play because I have a feeling it'll be like a one and done kind of thing.
Probably.
But yeah, all of this is joining, games that are in my most recent Steam sale. And I've got stuff like Hitman that I'm ready to play and things like that. So who knows when I'll get to any of those, but I did spend my Steam bucks and actually had to spend $1.23 extra.
$1. Oh my god, you're so broke. But
and of course, right now I want to re-download Star Wars: The Old Republic. So that's
I've been wanting to do that too.
Oh, that's another like $60 right in the can. I'm ready.
I don't know why, but yeah, I've been having the strongest craving to go.
I love Star Wars: The Old Republic.
I don't know why, but yeah, I've been having the strongest.
There are a couple of us on Twitter that were just enthusing about it, and it's like New Year's resolution: get back into that in a big way. I love that game.
I would almost want to completely start everything over again, just to.
You should do the. I'm doing the where I left off was the bounty hunter. You should do the agent story, and I'll join you as the bounty hunter.
Yeah, we were co-oping the agent story for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to do that. I've been meaning to go back into this. I'm sitting there going, I keep on remembering the special episode that we did on The Last Jedi, and I keep on every time I think about it, I'm like, I could have a better adventure myself, and I'm like, I could do that in Star Wars: The Old Republic. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna go be a better Jedi because I want to live the story that's actually enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, it's so funny because Star Wars: The Old Republic draws much more influence from the prequels than anything else, and I think that it's just the best realization of what the prequels were doing,
attempting to try and do.
That kind of golden age of the Star Wars universe when everything was opulent and wonderful before things got grungy with the original trilogy.
It'd be interesting to try. Because I was also thinking about how you were talking about, because you found this out before I did, because I always played very aligned with whatever the character is supposed to be.
Oh, I always alternate
because I always played the evil Sith or the Great Jedi. I think it'd be interesting to start a Jedi and a Sith at the same time and do them going oppositely and seeing if they cross over. Like if I played a Jedi Knight that went bad and you played a Sith Warrior that went good, I wonder how their paths would cross, or if they would cross.
I absolutely love one of the best Star Wars narrative experiences I've ever had. I've just, including the movies, including cartoons, comics, anything, is the light side Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Light side Sith Warrior.
Saying,
yeah, just absolutely the arc of that character. I wanted to see that continue. Like, it ends after 80 hours. You invest a lot of time in this. And I was like, I'm ready for more of this. I want more of this.
80 hours of free-to-play. Let that sink in. Every time. That's still the one thing that, knocks me out of my chair.
I do spend the money on it just for the, you get 10 extra inventory slots. I'm so sorry for my camera flickering.
It's quality of life stuff. I mean, it's just... Yeah. I mean, you definitely don't need it by any means.
You can sprint fast. You can sprint sooner in the
faster,
game.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's little tiny... You can get on a speeder bike faster and stuff like that, but still for free to play after 80
I haven't
hours.
even
If
touched-
if you want to spend $6 to get Pro for a couple months, who cares?
I've probably logged hundreds of cumulative hours in that game, and I haven't even touched the expansions yet.
Mm-hmm.
Any of that. It's nuts. It's a great game.
But besides the Star Wars Old Republic, which we're kicking off 2018 with a game we've been talking about since 2016, but
Hey, have you heard of this game, Overwatch?
typically what we do here in this podcast, for those who might be joining us for the very first time, is we're a PC gaming podcast. We typically segregate our podcast into... Oh, whoa, Darth Elias is now a loot addict. Thank you for joining the addiction and making sure that my Twitch alerts actually work. So double yay!
Hey!
But thank you for the follow.
Is that what we do? We both lift our arms.
Yay!
Yay!
We worked on that all of the span of 3 nanoseconds.
Wow! I'm glad we practiced
and
that.
Darth Halo just defollowed us. Yay! No, just kidding. But typically what we do with this podcast is...
Darth Alias. Nice. That's a nice name. And also alias, like, it's your alias?
Ooh, look at that.
I don't know if you meant to do that, but I see what you're doing there.
Next level user naming there. So what we typically do with this podcast is we separate the podcast out into 3 different phases where we do news, which is everything topical in industry. So topical with either games that we really love, really enjoy, or we're really excited about, or just topical news that's just so trendy and so apparent in the industry that it's kind of hard to miss. So that's kind of how we structure everything within our news feature. So that's why you might see a lot of repeat games, a lot of repeat developers and things like that. So that's
why we talked about Destiny 2 for 2 months and then Star Wars Battlefront 2 for 4 months.
Exactly. So that's kind of how it works. We kind of trend off in our news section, but from there we also talk about our playlist each and every week, meaning that any game that we've been playing, that we've been continuously playing, we've gotten back into, anything like that, anything we're kind of in the middle of reviewing, whatever. All those live updates on anything we're physically and actually playing, we will cover weekly in our playlist. And so that can cover everything from previews, betas, actual release reviews, you name it. And then we always close off with a big weekly feature for us, which is the free game of the week, which is a free game that you can go out and play the instant you hear us talking about it on this podcast or watching us live on Twitch. So that is
you can keep listening to us while you install it.
Exactly. It's all boom. Mine equals boom. But it's a game that actually is free that we go out there and find and just redirect you to because we think it's a game that needs to be spotlighted and we think it'd be great or enjoyable for you guys to go out and try it. So that is typically how we do things in Addicted to Loot. But today we are doing none of those things, just about. So today what we
for the past 4 weeks we haven't had that format for holiday basically reasons.
No, but for 90% of the year that's usually what we do. But so last year we closed out 2017 with our year-end review as well as our year-end awards, which were both incredible and a lot of fun.
That was so much fun.
We had a lot of great participation during the awards show. Who would have thought that award for Dog of the Year would get so much traction? But,
oh my god. It was just so funny because we were so surprised at the things that the chat got passionately excited about.
Game of the Year, crickets. Dog of the Year.
There were claws. People were fighting over some stuff. It was great.
Dog of the Year. 2 words in the 1 word Game of the Year.
2 word into 1 word game title mashup. So things like Everspace or Kingsway.
Those things like that were the ones that people adamantly cared about. Then everything else was just we see your point.
Everyone else is wrong. I love it.
So we closed out 2017.
And we dressed up.
Yeah, we did. Actually, we had a festive...
we had suits.
We had the final day of our 2017 review. We did a festive Christmas dress up. We also did that for our Star Wars special feature on The Last Jedi. So both of those we are dressed up in our Christmas sweaters. And then the very last episode of 2017, which is our year-end award show, we both dressed up in full suits. So you should go check that out if you haven't already. They were both really great experiences and a really incredible audio and video. So just please go check that out. So for today, the start of 2018, what we always like to do for the start of every year, and we are saying that we can do it every year now because we've done it 2 years in a row, so it must be tradition, is that the very first episode of that year, we do a giant year preview for every game that we know of that, or has at least been announced or rumored, that's most likely going to be coming out in 2018.
quite a bit of games. We obviously, in the efforts of time and lack of knowledge, we've omitted a couple, but certainly there's
this is not going to be completely
50 games here.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot. This is not completely all inclusive, but this is going to be a list that's going to hopefully propel us into 2018, kind of kick everyone else off, maybe start tickling your taste buds for some games, and just
there are some games that we're going to be talking about that I'm like, I had no idea this was coming out, and it's like I'm stoked that's coming out this year.
I had the same thing because people asked me last year, "Hey, well, what are you really excited for 2018 and like for game releases?" I'm like, I know
2 games that are coming out this year.
Yeah, like usually I have at least like 2 or 3 pre-purchases right now, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, I really don't have anything on my radar for 2018. It's kind of like,
us doing this right now really is helps. Putting games on my radar.
Basically, this is us showing you how we do research into our podcast. And calling it an episode.
Just coming along for the ride. So, but before we get into that, we're going to do our free game of the week now, just as we've done with episodes like this where we have big feature segments. We're just going to lump all our typical end of episode stuff here in the 20 minutes in beginning of episode. So our free game of the week this week is a fantastic thing that just, most of these, I got to be honest, most of these are things that just kind of whoop, right up into my Twitter feed, and it's like blink and you'll miss it stuff, and it's like, whoa, wait, what was that? I got to see what that is. And so this is a game called The Grandfather Machine. It is a puzzler in the vein of, the Talos Principle, Portal, but it doesn't have like a shtick. It's just kind of, well, it does have a shtick in the sense that gravity has no real meaning in this universe. So you're going through these environments and you'll see like a staircase, and you can, if the staircase is going up to a wall that you're facing and you walk along the staircase, now you're walking on that wall. Kind of like, an MC Escher, Alice in Wonderland, what is up is kind of thing. What is up is now sideways kind of game. Very light and very simple. There was only one part that kind of I was like, oh god, what? And I just kind of kept moving until I ended up at the end destination. But the absolute selling point for this, and I think I finished it in an hour. It's very brief. Production value is incredible. There is this holographic I don't want to say narrator because he's interacting with you, kind of like GLaDOS, a holographic entity that just shows up in holograms, just very much like Star Wars, this sort of 2D plane of a guy. But I have never seen a hologram. It's clearly it's a video of a guy. It's not a rendered image. I've never seen a hologram that looks this good. It just the implementation of it is perfect. It's like the coloration of it, the gentle flickering of it, his kind of jerky movements are just perfect. I guess this was a student project, but it's like it, yeah. The production value of this holographic image of this guy is out of this world.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool graphic.
It's like rather. Yeah, the game itself looks like something that was made in Unity, not as a disc, but I'm just saying it's not going to look like friggin' the highest budget value,
it's not going to look like Assassin's Creed
Frostbite engine thing. Yeah, it looks like something, but this hologram just captivated me. And there's a little bit of a narrative that plays with the hologram. It's kind of like the Stanley Parable. Is he on your side? Is he not? What's he trying to do? He's teaching you. He's helping you. Kind of got the benevolent English television presenter kind of personality. So it's really cool. But that's called The Grandfather Machine, and it's on itch.io. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, Tom, man, every time you bring up these games, especially these ones on itch, I got to go to itch, or maybe I've got the program downloaded, and I got to search for this game, or maybe you put it on Friday on the episode, and I got to click on the link, and I just wish there was a place, sometimes I miss an episode. I wish there was a place that had all of these games on itch that you guys recommend together.
That would be nice.
Never you fear, dear listener/viewer.
What?
We have finally done the not nearly impossible, which of Itch has a great collection feature, and for years I've collected games under like, Tom's collection, here's a collection that I'll give them out as like Christmas presents or things like that. We have now an Addicted to Loot Itch collection of games that we feature from the website itch.io, which is a basically independent games hosting service. where you can get all of the free games of the week that we've ever since the inception of the concept. So like a year and a half ago,
Just about, yeah.
they'll all be there, and it'll be constantly updated as we introduce new free games. So if you miss one, or you just kind of want a good collection of things that we dig and think you might dig too, it's there. So there's already a link to that on our website, and we'll of course link that through our show notes, etc., etc. But yes, there is now an Addicted to Loot free game of the week itch collection. Sure, it doesn't include all of them, because sometimes our free game of the week will be Star Wars: The Old Republic, Heroes of the Storm, etc. These are not games that are on itch, but
Yes. And-
most of them are, and you'll find them right there.
Yeah, and some do have their own websites where you basically download straight from the website versus itch or anything else like that. But there's a vast majority of time you can find almost anything on itch. And if you just want to look for a free game that's not our free game of the week, itch is always an amazing place to start. It's
Yeah,
just
use this
an
as a launch
incredible
pad.
surface. Yeah, so please go check out itch and any other game that might be related to.
I was talking with someone recently. I can't remember who it was, and they asked, basically like, what is itch? I was like, it's like deviant art for games. It's just like it's an open service that lets anyone who wants to make a game and host it put it there. I'm sure it probably gives you a better revenue share than other marketplaces, at the expense of not being on said insert popular marketplace here.
I never would have
And
thought
if
about
you-
that, but that's a good
know,
analogy.
So for people who are developers and you haven't actually checked out itch yet, get on there.
So, with that, we're going to jump into our big special feature for this episode and for the start of 2018 in the Addicted to Loot podcast. It is the giant 2018 preview. And like Tom said, this is a very large list. This is a very, very large list. This is such a large list that if this was going to be a year-end review, we would be here for 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
So,
The
please
good news is we don't know much about these games, so we won't have a lot to say.
that's
Well, I mean,
typically
they
a
haven't come
negative
out,
in a
so-
podcast.
No.
But
I
for
mean,
today, it's a good thing.
yeah.
We all can
for
go home.
obvious reasons, we don't know a lot about these games that haven't come out.
Yet or have really been announced. But otherwise, we're extremely well informed and not amateurish.
We know
Yes.
the titles of them.
Yes, which is 90% of any game, right? Because none of
You
these
can't
titles
judge
are
these books by
completely
their covers.
misleading at all. But
Mm.
so we're gonna go into this, and what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go through this in different genres. So we've kind of bin these together by genres, and we're gonna go through. We'll say the title of the game, do a very brief description of it, and then any other kind of either excitement or any other news that we know about that game as of this moment. So with that, we'll kind of break into this with action with a game that we've actually already talked about on this podcast, which is Anthem. Anthem is a big BioWare title that's coming out in 2018. It's basically BioWare's new take on a completely unique, never-touched IP, which is interesting because, BioWare is under EA, and then EA just keeps on chugging out the dead horse until it stops kicking up money. So this is interesting that we have a unique IP from an EA-based company. Now, what Anthem actually looks like, it looks like, as Tom put it, futuristic fantasy, not science fiction, which is a very interesting distinction. So I think it's more, futuristic fantasy, but it's going to be...
Definitely leaning on the sci-fi side of it.
But
yeah. It's like it looks like which is interesting if you follow kind of BioWare's path. This looks like it's taking elements from Mass Effect, which is of course BioWare.
Definitely. Yeah.
Where Mass Effect took elements from Knights of the Old Republic. So it was like they started and they said, "Oh, we're going to make these Star Wars games. Hey, let's make our own sci-fi IP." Mass Effect has had, I guess, its run, which is a bummer to say, but it's going to take something to really kind of rejuvenate that game. And now they're kind of saying, hey, let's take things that worked in Mass Effect
and put it together,
under the framework of what looks like Destiny.
Yeah, so what Anthem is, it's an open world, futuristic, third-person shooter in a sense. And it's selling itself with open exploration, flight. There's a jetpack that you can use that's not just boosting or anything else like that. You can actually physically fly around and use abilities and use weapons while flying around. Basically, it kind of stems from there's a central hub. You're an adventurer from that central hub, and you're venturing out into the world to do XYZ, PDQ, insert side quest here kind of things.
Mhm.
So it looks really, I mean, it looks great. From the trailers and teasers that I've seen thus far, it looks like it could be a very great game. But once again, I've, once bitten, twice shy for BioWare games anymore. So as excited as I want to be for this game, it's very reserved because A, it's open world, B, it's EA, and just I'm hoping that a new IP with BioWare allows them to get back to what made them great, but it's not a true like RPG open world sci-fi game. It's really just an open. It's almost like if Far Cry went futuristic, or like Far Cry into 1,000 years, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, the trailer threw me for a loop when they first announced it, and I believe it was E3 last year.
Correct. Yeah.
Where they had this video of it's from the perspective of the player. They're kind of in this hub, and a guy comes up and gives them a quest, and I believe they were voiced. I believe they were voicing responses to this guy. I can't remember.
I think there's voiced. Yeah.
And then they go out, and the character teams up with some other. You're kind of this power armor wearing.
Yeah, you're not thing. A mech, but you're a human size in power armor.
Yeah, and teams up with like 2 or 3 others, and the conversation between them is like top tier voice acting, like professional voice acting you'd hear in a game or an animation or whatever. But they're saying things like, hey, there's a bunch of mobs over here. Let's pwn them and catch their loot when they drop. I hope I get a mad gun. And I was like, wait a sec, is this like in-game, or is this supposed to be the player chatting with his friends? Mm-hmm. Which I believe ultimately that's what it was. I'm still not quite sure, but yeah. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be like witty in-universe banter. Like, oh, hey, we're going on a big old quest. Let's get some loot. Or if it was you and me, Brian, playing.
Yeah, or it's like, yeah. Or are the NPCs just millennials of this day and age, fast forward into 1,000 years? Like, dude, let's get some loot with our new power armor. Woo!
Yeah, and it's like literally like they see another guy and they're like, hey, it's Chad. Hi, Chad. Yeah. It's like, that was the point where I said, okay, this is supposed to be me sitting at home playing with my friends.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense, but it looks like a very interesting title. This is one of the ones I'm keeping my eye on. I just don't want to elevate it too excited just yet. So
I love BioWare's it's tough. I love BioWare's writing, and they have proved that they can do it or really I love their characterization. And they've proved that they can do that with Star Wars The Old Republic in an MMO, in a multiplayer setting. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. Next on the list is MechWarrior 5. There's not much to say about this one because it's MechWarrior 5. If at least anyone from our generation and older, or even people that are like pretty close to our generation in terms of gaming, MechWarrior on PC dominated the market for a very long time. You chose a light, medium, or heavy mech, or they might have actually been light, medium, and assault. I forget exactly the classification. But basically, you're a pilot, first-person view in a giant mech going around shooting up other mechs for a mission that in the past was story-driven or basically not on rails, but you know what I mean? Like, you chose the mission, you went, you did the mission, you came back. You tried not to die. Missiles, plasma
video
cannons,
games,
laser beams. Yeah. So I was watching the video for it, and maybe it's super early in production because it didn't look like it's being made in 2017/2018. It looked like it was more like original MechWarrior, so I don't know if they're going for the nostalgia trip or what. But it didn't like blow my mind in terms of graphics. But it's a MechWarrior game, so if you like MechWarrior, MechWarrior 5.
MechWarrior is one of those things that I remember going into, Walmart or after that.
It was always on the shelf.
And you would just, you're like, oh, that's the game that I want. Oh, yeah, and then there's this thing. And then, you're kind of like, oh, new Need for Speed and MechWarrior.
MechWarrior it was something I always there. It was like,
I always saw it, and I always kind of like brushed past it.
It
never
was
was
always that box on the shelf. I mean, I played a few MechWarriors, and I enjoyed them, but I didn't get into it. There was, at one point in time, there was kind of a small cult following for it, but I just was never that far into it.
I want to segue just because there's a perfect segue. We're going to skip one and then we'll go back to it. But the other game that I would see in that cluster was Dynasty Warriors. It's like that was the other one where it's like Dynasty Warriors 3, 4. It's like I always knew someone that owned a Dynasty Warriors game. You?
Yeah, I owned it.
But I remember like in like 4th, 5th grade, it's like always it was like everyone owned that Sum 41 All Killer No Filler album and a Dynasty Warriors. It was like, these are like a mandatory.
Get out
like,
of my
You went
head.
off to school with a supply pack.
Get out of my
Here you go.
head.
Here's your Sum 41 album. Here's your Dynasty Warriors. Have a nice day. Oh, have a banana
I
too.
might still have that CD somewhere. But
Yeah, everyone had those.
but yeah, Dynasty Warriors 9 is also coming out. I doubt they're going to break the mold with this one. If you play Dynasty Warriors, it's going to be the same game. You're extremely overpowered samurai slashing through hordes of peasants, hundreds if not thousands of peasants, and then occasionally taking on a boss. That's really it's really just a cool combo masher. Look how, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of game. So just have fun poning the peasants. Going back to the one we missed, which is another one that I'm actually excited for, which is another open world game. Tom, what's wrong with me?
2018 is an era of change.
It's probably going to be more of the same thing at the end of 2018. I'm up foreshadowing. At the end of 2018, it's going to be the second edition of the least aggravating open world game. But Biomutant is a RPG game that I'm actually very excited for. I've been watching a few videos on it. I think I got announced at E3. I'm hoping that they do a little bit more with it, because the point of Biomutant is that it's an open world kind of Dark Souls, like a easier Dark Souls kind of thing, but you play it you're a fuzzy little like cat creature that has a giant like busted sword and like machine guns and things like that. So it's very much open combat, twin sticky kind of thing, I think, in terms of the shooting, but the combat itself looks like, hit, dodge, block, typical kind of like Dark Souls combat, if you've ever seen that anywhere else. But the point of Biomutant is that as your creature itself evolves and gets through the storyline, or gets through the world that you're in, you can choose how to evolve your little character. And
there's a mutation system.
Yeah, there's a mutation system that allows him to customize your character. Now, what I'm hoping for, which I can't confirm nor deny because the teasers and the videos thus far haven't really given too much detail in it, I was hoping that whenever the mutation came up, that it would be randomly generated, and you would pick you'd pick one, and then that would kind of steer you towards one way of gameplay. Then as you go on, you might then have to make the choice of, this is a really cool ability, but it goes against what I've been playing, so I'd have to almost negatively affect my character to get an ability I kind of want. So I'm hoping that there's a pros and cons tree as you're building this thing.
It's like the do you become a vampire twist in video games.
Exactly.
It's like I know. Or like necromancers, feed off of blood, but
because I'm hoping that it's not the same every time you play through, because it would be stupid if every single person in the world, very first level, you could have claws, you could have wings, or I hope there's some randomness to it, some random generation, some replayability. But I was hoping that maybe the mutations can be out there, you sprout a third arm so you can have 3 machine guns versus 2, something like that. Something to make it really interesting. So that's what I'm hoping for. But like I said, that's once again a hypothesis, neither confirm nor deny. But it's a really cool game with fuzzy little creatures. It's
that's the selling point for me. I love the aesthetic of I like stuff like Redwall, and so I like the concept of brutally over the top violent raccoons and squirrels.
It's kind of like Happy Tree Friends, the video game.
Yeah. It's just kind of it's this fantasy of the creatures that live outside deciding, I'm going to take up a sword.
Yeah. Next in the action game genre is Crackdown 3. This one is actually so if you don't know what Crackdown is you're a extremely overpowered law enforcement official, and the game doesn't basically hold you back at all. You're meant to feel extremely overpowered to be flashy. You're
basically, if you've played Saints Row 4.
Yeah, so
it's the same thing.
You have weapons, equipment, and a mech and an exoskeleton that lets you be far and above and beyond the people you're arresting, quote unquote, or
leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Yeah. You're basically a superhero, and they let you feel like you're a superhero. So it's extremely flashy. But this one's actually being voiced by Terry Crews, which is a big selling point of Crackdown 3. is that it's going to be voiced by Terry Crews. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be very much more of the same for
If it has the reason why Saints Row 4 worked is that it had this incredible heart to it. It had this actual, like, it was doing that, like, over the topness that when just left alone, it gets uninteresting because you're like, oh, I can freaking do anything, you know. It just, some bosses take longer to kill instead of like using like tactics and like, oh, I got to conserve my health, I got to dodge, things like that. It just kind of becomes, I'm gonna hit this guy and this guy takes 20 seconds instead of 10. But Saints Row 4 was wrapped up in this sort of like love letter to pop culture. So Crackdown 3 is a similar kind of thing. Well, people compared Saints Row 4 to Crackdown, so when the imitator becomes the imitator, you know. Yeah. If Crackdown 3 takes that cue from Saints Row 4, I'm interested in it. I'd like to see a game that's like fun to play, but also fun to experience.
Oh, hopefully. I actually haven't played a Crackdown game yet, so who knows? Maybe this will be the first. Cold Vein is a self-quoted anime Dark Souls, so it's exactly,
we're not making that up.
Yeah, it literally, the game sells itself as an anime version of Dark Souls. So if you like either of those two genres, please go check out Code Vein. It looks interesting, but I only ever saw stills of the game, so who knows? It's a game to have on your list if you're a Dark Souls fan. Extinction, this one I'm also kind of excited for, but I could easily see this one kind of going negative depending on how they treat it. Extinction is basically a mix of Shadow of the Colossus mixed with Attack on Titan, but it's almost like if you ever played All Orcs Must Die, but the orcs were 300 foot tall.
Yeah,
it's a game that,
which is more the Attack on Titan side of
exactly
things.
So if the Titans were orcs and you were a fantasy superhero with a blade, it's kind of like you're meant to kill these, you know, ginormous Titan-like orcs, but you're just a little tiny guy as big as their big toe, but you actually have to jump off buildings, climb up them in a Shadow of Colossus way. Like, you have to figure out ways. Like, there's been times, like, in videos that you can just, like, run up and, like, if you time it well enough, you can just hack off an entire arm. It's just, you have to figure out how to kill these guys. But there's also, you know, smaller mobs around the city that you can run through and grind through that I'm assuming that you can probably use as currency or level ups or who knows what. But it's a cool looking game. It's a concept that really hasn't been fully explored, so I'm interested to see how they come out with it. Vampyr, which is Vampyr, is a game that I personally talked about before as another preview, I think, either during E3 or Gamescom. I can't remember which one. But this is a game that... Oh, that's what it was. It was at one and then the other. Because the very first time I reported on it, it was marketing itself one way, and then the second time it came up later that year, it marketed itself a completely different way, which I hated. Because initially, Vampyr was originally marketed as a game that shows almost like the internal emotional and mental conflict of a good person who unfortunately got cursed with vampirism. So he's a doctor who has vampirism, and it originally marketed itself as, you have to go through and make the emotional decisions of, I need to eat, but I need to save people. But I also have a threat level to monitor, so I need to feed. So maybe I take the sickest one of my patients and take him and then hide his body somewhere and really stave off until the heat dies down. Like, it sounded like it was a very, you know, it almost humanized a vampire in the sense of that you're dealing with all this emotional trauma. But then when I saw the gameplay video later that year, it just looks like, oh, I'm a doctor with super amazing vampire powers. And it's just like, he's bouncing off walls, he's like smoking through people, he's cutting people in half. He's like, I am a vampire. Ah.
This hurts me more than it hurts you.
Like they completely got rid of all of that and just made it into like a supernatural hack and slasher. It's almost like Devil May Cry, but with hands and vampires. It's kind of like,
I wonder if that's a marketing thing, you know, just the same game through two different lenses, because this is made by Don't Nod, who did Remember Me and more recently Life is Strange. So they have a good pedigree. I haven't played all of Life is Strange yet. I played the first episode, and I do have the entire first one. I think that the Before the Storm prequel sequel just wrapped up.
Yep.
That was, I almost bought that on the Steam sale, but that was the same thing where it's like, oh, I still have to play all of Life is Strange first. But I loved Remember Me. However, it wasn't exceptionally complex. Remember Me was very surface to a, not to a fault. It was kind of surface in the way of, it part of the appeal was just, hey, look at this flashy city, look at this flashy combat, and then also I'm emotional. Did we get that out of the way? Okay, now back to this,
Yeah, and that's what this
So
game
I can
strikes
see
me
this.
as.
I can see this going either way. I can see this being something that's fun to play, but not worth sinking your teeth into.
Time to pun for those kids at home is 47 minutes.
Get out those bingo cards. But seriously, like, this could be something that's enjoyable on a lighter scale than maybe you would hope.
Maybe I originally wanted it to be more of a nitty-gritty, dark fantasy, like emotional decision kind of game.
Yeah, BioWare could do a really good vampire game.
But it looks like
conflicts.
Vampire Masquerade or Blood or whatever that Vampire Masquerade, the whatever. Like that's a
the
really,
Bloodever.
I don't know what it's called.
The Bloodening.
It's the Vampire the Masquerade, whatever it's called.
Bloodlines. Yeah.
Bloodlines. Yeah, that's what it was. I mean, that was a really solid vampire RPG that actually had some, critical choices you had to make. This game, it looks like it's just a, hey, I'm a vampire with powers. Watch me beat people up with supernatural abilities, which could be fun. It just might not be the same.
But then the cutscenes in between will be, this sucks.
Yeah.
I hate that I have to do this.
Exactly. So I'm not sure how I feel about the game, but it might be one interesting game to keep your eye on.
A lot of ludonarrative dissonance.
River Bond is a interesting co-op hack and slash game.
This is a game I see exclusively as something that you and I would enjoy.
Oh, I completely and 100%.
Like, as soon as I saw that, I said, "Oh, that's a game that I want to get if we both get it," because it's a co-op hack and slash with this gorgeous voxel art style.
Yeah, very, very pixelated. It's almost
3D pixelated.
Yeah, 3D pixelated. Yeah, so if you could imagine like looking down at a Lego board and that's your game, it's kind of very similar to that, but it's also kind of has a mix of some tower defense elements in it too. But it's really just a kind of cutesy pixelated action adventure game where you're really just hack and slashing other pixels. It looks really fun and exciting, just in terms of if this is maybe like a $6, $7, $8 game, it's probably well worth it. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Especially if there's pixelated loot, because you know what we're addicted to.
Nice and flashy.
Okay, so
that's on brand.
That's what I was shooting for. This one took me by surprise because I didn't know it was happening. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove is coming.
A new Toe Jam and Earl game.
Where is that? Like, that took me by left field because I'm like, there is? Like,
is
that happening?
Toe Jam and Earl is like early internet culture for me. Like, it's like
one of the original pointing clicks.
Yeah.
Actually, there's Toe Jam and Earl, and then there's Max and
Sam and Max.
Yeah. Those are the two like original pointing clicks that I can even remember, and those
1991.
Were they were huge back when.
One?
Yeah.
There are these two alien rappers. Sega Genesis. Wow. Two alien rappers have landed on Earth, and it's just an adventure. Quirky, funny adventure.
Pointing click.
But this is like, there was like a Bubsy remake last year, or not remake, but like a new Bubsy game, and it's just these things that come up that's like, God, that's a name I haven't heard since 1992.
If you know Toe Jam and Earl, you're probably already excited about this. Otherwise, for the younger people out there that might not know who Toe Jam and Earl is, we invite you to go look it up, because this could be a great game. This could be a really cool throwback to a genre that's almost been long forgotten.
Yeah, very specific art style, kind of.
I remember I loved Sam and Max. I really loved Sam and Max. I
didn't play any of the Sam and Max games.
Oh, you would have loved them. They are quirky and so much fun.
The only experience I have with Sam and Max is the Telltale, which is weird, Poker Night.
Yes, the Poker Night. I love that game.
They have Sam and Max as one of the and Poker Night 2, I think.
It's in the first one.
In the first one,
I played it, because Sam from Sam and Max, the Heavy from Team Fortress, and I forget the other guy.
Isn't like Strong Bad?
Is it Strong Bad? I think it is Strong Bad.
What's his name from Venture Brothers is in one of them too.
That's the second one.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't remember.
But yeah, the first one was Sam, Strong Bad, and the Heavy, because I remember I bought that game to get TF2 items.
Oh yeah. That's how you know.
Yeah. So I don't know. It looks fun. It could be an interesting game. Darksiders 3.
I'm just laughing at my note.
This time you play as Fury and Fury. Fury, and she's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So it's Darksiders 1 and 2. You played as two different characters. The first
you're the Horseman of the Apocalypse, right?
In the very first one, you're War.
Yeah.
Which is a Horseman of the Apocalypse. Basically, you got unleashed ahead of your brothers because something happened, and you got to figure out what the hell happened. In the second one, you actually play as Death
or something.
No,
right?
you actually play as like Death or the Grim Reaper, I believe. So whatever.
You play as Reaper from Overwatch. That's what it is.
But yeah, I actually didn't play the second one. I really loved the first one. The first one I loved. I actually still technically have to beat the first one. It's one of those games that you can't take a break from. I was playing the first one, got stuck, and
I apparently own the second one.
The skill curve goes through the roof. So if you don't keep up with it, like I tried to replay from the save I have. I just keep getting my ass beat. So
yeah,
it's an interesting game, but I loved it. It's almost like it's like a fantasy Metroid in the sense that it's Metroid it's open world, and you have to keep on revisiting areas and getting new abilities and like slowly progressing and progressing. But the action is you're this hulking guy that has a couple of different weapons and a couple of different play styles, and you can swap out between weapon types on the fly, so you can be quicker and slashier, or you can be like much heavy hitter but you're slower, that kind of thing. And it was just, I had so much fun with these games. I actually, like I said, I really need to play the second one. Darksiders 3, I'm gonna hope it's gonna be just as good as the previous two. The second one didn't get
thank you, Darth Alias. Thank you for coming by.
This second one I don't think did as well as the first one, but people still loved it, especially the people that were true to the series. So hopefully 3 is just as good. And like Tom said, you play
Fury.
I keep wanting to say Furry, but
oh my God, no, that's a very different game.
So you play Fury, which will basically just change up the equation for this one. Which
this is the first Darksiders game that I'm excited for. I don't tend to like big hulky character games. Like
Did you play it? It's so much fun.
I know, it's satisfying. I know it's
so
satisfying, but I don't get into it because it always feels too slow. Even if you're crazy overpowered, it just feels too slow. Kingdoms of Amalur was the first game where I played a hulky meat man character that was like, oh, okay, because you had like the chakras and things like that.
Which is funny because I played a rogue in that character.
I know.
In that game.
I always forget that you can play anything but a beefy meat man, because I played like the most default character in Kingdoms of Amalur and loved it. But that's irrelevant. Yeah. Darksiders 1 and 2, they look like, I can't think of the guy's name, but there's a comic book artist, and it's just like the shoulders.
That's what he is. There's a comic.
McFarlane. Todd McFarlane?
I don't know about that, but these two games were made with comic book artists.
Yes.
That like if you buy the
who I think also worked on Kingdoms of Amalur.
I'm not sure about that one, but if you buy the enhanced editions, you get comics that he's made that are source images for this.
I think that he worked on both. I could be wrong, but I believe that there's a similarity there. But Fury's design, the one for Darksiders 3, first off, she's a girl, so it's lighter, faster build, so I'm drawn to that. And it looks like she's got a whip, which looks really cool.
Oh yeah, I think you could get something similar in the other games, but yeah.
But there's just something about the visual appeal of her. It looks like, I want to play as that character. She looks as this kind of like deadly blade of a woman, and it looks like that could be really fun. So I like the Darksiders format of satisfying game to just kind of play, not really like dig into, but you're just like, I'm gonna bash around some baddies,
Yeah.
But I love the concept of her whip. That looks cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, so our next section.
Yeah, we're gonna be
I
changing
forgot.
topics now. We're gonna be done with actions. We're actually gonna be jumping into RPGs.
So the RPG is coming out. Final Fantasy 15 is coming out on PC allegedly this year. Final Fantasy 15. Yeah. Final Fantasy 15 got good reviews last year with its console release. Good enough. People didn't love it, but
it got kind of even middle of the road kind of reviews. But a lot of people I talked to from the PlayStation world who played it were kind of lukewarm on it to begin with.
Yeah. I think it was one of those games where people liked the little things in it, but maybe didn't like the game as a whole.
Yeah, I'm weird because I'm still a Final Fantasy purist in the sense of I want my turn-based combat. Like I miss the old 7, 8, 9, 10 days where because to me that was Final Fantasy, this huge epic 4 CD game. Yeah, kids, that's right. In the old days, you needed to have multiple CDs to play one game.
There's a great trope that's called disc 1 end boss or something like that. And it's funny because I wonder if people have lost the reason why it's called disc 1 end boss. It means Okami has that. Okami is a perfect example where you actually fight what feels like the final boss of the game. And if it was a disc game, that'd be now insert disc 2 for the rest of the game. You're like, oh my god, I'm halfway through.
Exactly. So like I said, I miss the old purist Final Fantasy days of having. I feel like they're trying to modernize it way too much, especially not even in its controls, but in its storylines. I mean, Final Fantasy 15 is a bunch of extremely anime, slender, hunky guys driving around in a convertible.
They look like a Korean boy band.
Dude, should we kill this thing? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's a game that I remember a lot of people. I'm trying not to stereotype anything. A lot of people having affectionate feelings for the characters on aesthetic values.
Yes.
If you want to read between the lines, go for it. But I've never been into Final Fantasy. I really never have.
Hey, Skelly.
Hey, Skelly! Welcome.
Welcome.
Whatever this is.
Go if you haven't already. Please go check out Scaly on ITU
Trash Crew. Yeah,
yes.
Best gang of gals around. I freaking love those guys.
What? How are you offended?
He's offended.
We literally were just endorsing you. We were just like, you should go
Hi,
check
Scaly,
her out.
welcome to the chat.
I protest.
But yes, so Final Fantasy is never really anything I didn't have. It's I didn't hop on that train when I was a kid, so I think that was essential to liking it. It's not that I'm saying, I'll never dip into Final Fantasy because I never liked it. It's just that it's never really been anything that appeals to me. Partly nowadays because it's so big. It's here's a
Apparently,
okay. Well, that was in the past. That was
then.
That was then. This is now. Yeah, it's the games are overwhelming now. They're intimidating. It's I'm sure that's a good game, but
even if you take 7, which everyone always goes back to, it was a very long game. It was a very massive game, but it was a very manageable game because at any given time, you're still primarily only working on one or two things. And if you wanted to do something on the side, it's by your choosing. So you know what I mean? It wasn't that massive. If you wanted to raise a golden chocobo, it's because you decided to take a couple-hour break to do so versus you could have just kept on going with the missions. So
Scaly says, I second you on the FF thing, just have no interest in picking it up. Yeah, I remember my only real experience with Final Fantasy was my ex had what was the film?
X2? Oh.
No. X as an ex-girlfriend.
No, I thought you were going there. But yeah, Final Fantasy, the very first Final Fantasy movie.
Children of the Storm. I can't.
Children of Ash.
I don't remember.
And there was the original one with the one with the weird demon dragon things.
I remember Sephiroth.
Oh, Advent's Children.
Advent Children. Yes, yeah. Children of the Storm. And hey! Thanks, Red. I've been watching your stream for half an hour. Didn't realize I was watching on your channel. Just chatting away. Hey, I agree with this. I don't agree with this. Oh my god. Well, welcome to the ATL channel. Well, there are a lot of people, including you, who host us, and we are eternally grateful for you guys. Not the other one. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's good to see you guys here. Welcome officially.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah. So Advent Children had this. I remember because I remember saying to her, I have no idea of anything to do with Final Fantasy. I knew the sprites from the 8-Bit Theater comic. That was it. You know, which is not entirely different thing, but
that was more Final Fantasy 9.
Yeah, and ostensibly a different, kind of storytelling and everything. Hey, it's nice to see you.
Thanks for finally joining us.
thanks for joining for reals.
Yeah.
And so she was like, oh, well, there's a special feature on this DVD that summarizes the story of Final Fantasy VII. And like an idiot, I said, oh, that sounds good. I'll watch that. It was like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
It was like all the cutscenes.
Final Fantasy was a 4 CD game. And I have all of my original Final Fantasy CDs for 7. It was a 4 CD game. It was intense. Very, very intense. But if you ever have time, it is probably the one... People will have different opinions on Final Fantasies. I mean, I love 10. I really love 7. I actually, controversially, really liked 8 when not a lot of people did. But a lot of people still say 6 is the ultimate Final Fantasy in terms of just being like the best RPG ever.
I feel like 7's the one that gets...
Well, but if you look at a lot of like IGN, PC Gamer, stuff, Kotaku, whatever, Polygon... Whenever they have a top RPGs of all time, 6 will be higher ranked than anything else. So it's interesting, which is why I bought 6, and I'm hoping to get into it just to see what the hype's all about. But Final Fantasy 15 is coming to PC this year, so will be interesting to see if anyone else picks it up. It probably won't be on my list.
Pillars of Eternity Deadfire is coming out this year. That is the sequel to Pillars of Eternity, so it's essentially Pillars of Eternity 2. Pillars of Eternity is a classic-style RPG, very much the Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape style of RPG. Deadfire, I believe the theme here is that it's like your base is a pirate ship, so it's kind of interesting. I think it's just more of the same, which is good. That's my big appeal to it. Someday I'll finish Pillars of Eternity, and then I'll get this, because I very much like that. It's its own fantasy universe, but it's very traditional fantasy. It's very Lord of the Tolkien-esque fantasy.
Yep.
Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, the only reason why this stands out for me is I was Googling it, and it was so funny, because, like, you know how Google has this thing where it's like people are asking, questions about this game, and it's frequently asked questions. I gotta find this. So the first result was like the Mountain Blade 2 website, and then it goes into this. It says people also ask, when the hell is Mountain Blade 2 coming out? What is Mountain Blade based on? Is Bannerlord coming to consoles? Is Mountain Blade multiplayer? When did Mountain Blade Warband come out? What is a warband? Why do countries go to war? Is war important? I'm like, it looks like someone's search history in the dead of night. Like, you're just thinking, like, when does Mountain Blade 2 come out? And all of a sudden you're looking up, like, Turkish death metal, and you don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
You're just like,
you keep on going to Wikipedia, keep on clicking the very first.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you just completely nowhere where you start. You're like, oh yeah, I was looking at Mountain Blade, so I don't actually know anything about Mountain Blade.
Well, Mountain Blade is an interesting game. It's a game. It's almost like if you could be an individual soldier in a Total War game or something like that. That's what Mountain Blade is. Like, there's armies facing off of each other, but you play one of them. You play an archer, or a knight, or a foot soldier, and you're physically on the field attacking the other keep or attacking the other soldiers.
It's a little bit more realism than fantasy. It's like medieval.
Yeah, it's medieval times. I mean, I don't know if it's true realistic combat in terms of like what was that game, like that medieval sword combat multiplayer game that was on a little while ago.
Oh, Chivalry?
Chivalry. Was it Chivalry?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chivalry. The one that's like basically like one hit can kill you because a sword to your chest would obviously kill you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's exactly like that. But Mountain Blade Warband, the original one, actually got a lot of praise and a lot of traction with a lot of people. But I didn't personally get into it. It didn't look like a game that I would personally like. But yeah, you basically play a soldier on the field that you've deployed, and you can just be like, I want to be an archer now. Click, and then you put the arrows back, and you shoot them off, and you basically, you become the same stats of everyone else, but you are sentient, so therefore you play a little bit better than just an NPC, and so on and so forth.
I have a friend who is just absolutely, this is his favorite game, like in the world, the original one, Mountain Blade, and he's always trying to get me to play it. So I guess there's a multiplayer element.
Yeah,
to it.
people like it. I think probably more for its multiplayer than anything else.
Yeah,
Because the multiplayer, you can actually play everyone on both sides as a player, not an NPC. That's a lot of reasons why people like to play
that's
it as
cool.
So like, if you had like 40 friends, 20 versus 20 kind of thing.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, being part of a big
thing
siege or something.
That is one thing to point out.
I want to play the Lord of the Rings game that casts you as a random orc F. You know, like
the Lord of the Rings version of a red coat.
Yeah, exactly. Your role is to mug into the camera once, go ah, and that's it. Yeah, I know those emotes are great, Scaly. Where'd they come from?
Showing us up in our chat.
Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom is the sequel to Ni no Kuni, which I forgot is coming to PC. I don't think the original is out on PC, but this was a PlayStation game that for those who might have been here when we've had Alec on, he loves Ni no Kuni, or he likes Ni no Kuni. He doesn't really love it, but he champions for it.
Yeah.
It's I played the beginning of the original Ni no Kuni when I was demoing PlayStation Now. That's PlayStation's streaming service that lets you play PlayStation games on PC, essentially. And it felt a little too, if you're into, Miyazaki films, I think you'll like it. It's a little saccharine. I hate to say that because I'm a fan of cutesy stuff, but it's just a little bit too like, I'm the cute whimsical character. We're going on a big adventure, and it's like it does. I couldn't quite like find anything to grip into. It just felt a little too fantastical children adventure, and I'm not trying to sound like a jaded adult by that. It just wasn't interesting to me. But I guess it's a big JRPG once you get into it. I just was having so much trouble getting through the intro because it was like, my mother's dying, 20 minutes of being sad. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like drama. I don't like sad. I want to laugh. Damn it.
Speaking of laughing.
But,
the next game on the list.
Yes. Oh, well, I was just going to say that Ni no Kuni 2 has, where the first one was kind of like Pokemon, I think. This one's more like Pikmin.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you're kind of getting creatures and they become your familiars and then you throw them at enemies. I don't really know. I never played Pikmin either.
I like Pikmin.
My ignorance is showing all over the place on this episode. So the next one is The Bard's Tale, which is... Ni no Kuni got unsad so quickly. I never got to that quickly point. Enough. I was struggling. The kiddo was 6. Well, yeah, of course he was sad that his mom died, but I don't want to play a game that makes me feel that way. I don't want to feel those emotions, period. I do want to feel a roller coaster of emotions, sure. But it was just like, hey, here's heartbreak right out of the gate. I'm like,
it's like a Disney movie, but in a game.
I'm gonna go play Bejeweled, Yeah, feeling sucks. So The Bard's Tale 4 is the latest Bard's Tale game. This is a title that our franchise that I'm familiar with, but I've never played. First-person grid-based dungeon crawler. So things like Grimrock, where you're going on a grid, but it's first-person perspective, and it's like the enemies appear here, and it's like, attack this guy, now attack that guy. You don't see your party. They're just kind of like understood that you're your party.
And just so a ton of very crude bard-based humor, because that's just what bards are.
Yeah, I like it. Kingdom Come Deliverance, I'm really excited for. This is a medieval fantasy simulation sort of game. Has anyone else been broken by... Whoops, sorry, Scaly. I started accidentally whispering you here. Has anyone else been broken by What Remains of Edith Finch? That's another game that I've consciously avoided because people are like, oh, this game will make you feel so emotional. I'm like, well, skip. I like emotions, but boy, it's almost like... I don't like emotions that feel insincere, where it's like, we're going to make you feel... sad because we want you to feel sad. I don't like feeling played by emotions. I like to feel an emotion because of an arc, because of, it's easy to say, like, okay, I'm not going to let this one go. I know. It's easy to say, oh, this kid's mom is dying. It's like, of course you're going to be sad about that. That's like, that's like showing you on a film like a dead puppy, and it's like, how does this make you feel? It's like, oh, I feel awful. How do you think it's going to make me feel?
Maybe they want to give you an arc, but they want to start the arc low instead of the arc high.
If you're going to give me that kind of like, get me into the story. Get me feeling things for these characters already, instead of like, we need you to be sad now. I want you to be sad right out of the gate. So, not my
Kingdom
jam.
Come Deliverance.
Yes, I'm really into this because this is a medieval. It's the medieval culture game where it's kind of like Game of Thrones, has fantasy elements. It's like if you took the last little vestiges of fantasy out of Game of Thrones and just said, okay, here you are in crapsack medieval Europe, like with a narrative, with a story, but it's I don't think has anything that's like there's dragons, there's magic, anything
I thought Kingdom Come Deliverance was a super realistic, just open world sandbox middle.
There's a story to it. There's a narrative to it.
Because I thought basically it was like, you want to be a peasant that owns a farm? Be a peasant that owns a farm. You want to be a shopkeeper? Be a shopkeeper.
I think that they have a single player story.
They added that in because I always thought it was marketed as it's an open world game that you could just be what the hell you want. You don't have it's not like it's not an MMO.
I don't believe it's a survival sandbox thing.
I just thought it was supposed to be like, you could be a peasant, you could be a farmer, you could be a blacksmith. Like,
I don't know. I could be wrong, but last I heard it was like, here's scenes from our story mode.
But please continue. I'll research this real quick.
Sure. One that I'm really excited about, even though I know nothing.
It's a story-driven open world game. Never mind.
Hey. Even though I know nothing about this, nobody really does. Cyberpunk 2077. This is the next game from CD Projekt Red, so the Witcher devs. All I know is that it's borrowing the Cyberpunk license. I don't know if that's from, like, there's a specific license that they're using here.
Cyberpunk as an IP, not like a genre or a concept.
Yeah, not just as a genre, but there's a specific world that they're taking their elements from. Give me a Witcher-style game in a sci-fi cyberpunk universe, and I'm happy. That's all I need so far. I think everyone's just kind of like, cool, whatever this is, hope it's good. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Beyond Good and Evil was this sort of cult classic game. I own it. I haven't played it. I own it through Uplay. I think they gave it away free some time ago.
Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 has a lot of hype behind it. This is one of those things where it's like I wasn't part of the party, so I don't quite know what it is, but it looks like just kind of a fun, whimsical sort of thing. So, hey, I'm here for whimsy. Deep Sky Derelicts. This looks like something that you would dig.
Yes, it looks like a fun little game. This is a cool little indie title that's been previewed a little bit thus far. Like, they've gotten some like alpha builds out for some content creators out on YouTube. It's kind of like Darkest Dungeon, but instead of like monitoring your party's stress and morality and stuff like that, it's you pick 3 people, you stick with them, but it's like a deck building game. So depending on what equipment you get, depends on what cards you get. So if you want to equip a shotgun, well, that might mean you're losing out on some healing potential that a med kit that you had equipped gave you. So it's kind of deck building, exploration, combat, RPG elements.
The presentation, almost like Darkest Dungeon, is like this really bold comic book style, which is really
everything
catching.
is still, but when an action happens, it's like a panel, like BAM, and then it's
you have the flavor like onomatopoeia text,
or
it's like kablamo.
It gives you emotion almost by just a bunch of stills. So it's
I like that.
It's a cool art style. I'm just hoping they elaborate with the bare bones that they were showing off in their alpha. I think they could have a cool little game here, but I think it needs a little bit more depth to it. But it's a game that I think people that like Darkest Dungeons or dungeon crawlers and things like that would enjoy.
Underworld Ascendant, which is, I guess, the latest in the lineage from Ultima games. It's a first-person fantasy RPG, so for fans of that, it's a new one. one I'm really excited for, Adventure Time Pirates of the Enchiridion. So there is an Adventure Time open world adventure coming, and I'm sure it's just the Land of Who, and probably play as the whole party, or maybe you just play as Finn, who knows. It's an Adventure Time game. Great, awesome, I'm happy. Come on, grab your friends. This one, I had never heard of this until you put this on this list, but whoa, Greedfall. 17th century colonial era fantasy. This is something I've never seen before. Yeah, Marcy, are you kidding, dude? I've got a Marcy sticker back there. Marceline is, love her. Marceline's goals. Yeah, so Greedfall is literally colonial fantasy. Yeah. So like
colonial fantasy, yeah.
Oh, it's not, it's not quite Victorian fantasy. It's so cool. This is like an untapped collection of parts.
You're a person that gets put on a island in the colonial period but you're going on this island as the outsiders that have to deal with the natives, and then also their supernatural guardians and things like that. This is a game through Spider, or Spiders is a developer. Spiders has a very mixed history with games, where it's like amazing game followed by game for a couple of times.
What's their...
Like, they just had another game that didn't do quite well, which, oh my god, I'm going to forget what the heck it's called. But... Spiders.
Oh, Googling spider games doesn't work.
No. Oh my god. I just forgot.
Oh, Spiders is an independent, right?
Yeah, it's an independent
French.
one. I forgot.
Technomancer, Mars Warlogs. Yes. Okay. I know them.
Yeah. I was trying to remember.
It's very up and very down.
Yeah, they're very inconsistent, but when they give you a gem, it's a huge gem. So I'm not sure. They actually say that they're usually not ones to break the mold in terms of giving a very creative IP. Like, this game might just be one that's been done before, but it could just be done in a very great way. So, like you said, I completely agree. I love the subject matter. I love the concept. I love the look of the game. It's just going to be interesting to see if the developer can strike gold with this one.
Yeah. I almost just, like, it could... If it's playable, I don't care if it sucks, like, narratively, because I just want to inhabit that concept. That's so cool. The idea of 17th century fantasy. Because it's elves and humans and giant monsters, but tricorn hats, It's like, great, cool. And the last one in this subsection, which I've scrolled past, RPGs, the last one in RPGs is Sunless Skies, which is the latest from Sunless Sea, is it in early access? I think it actually is.
I think it is in early access. So this is another one in the Sunless series. Sunless Seas,
and
Sunless...
it's Sunless Seas, yeah.
Sunless Sea,
and Fallen London kind of...
London, yeah.
Yeah, Fallen London predeceased.
Same developers, same...
Pre this. Where these are games that take weird Victorian kind of fantasy to very... It's kind of like Torment, where it's like it makes something extremely weird, and then in universe it's extremely normal. Like, you had a conversation with a mummy today, and you just kind of like, it's just part of the world. Like, oh, you went to the world where people are made all out of wax, and they're like, hello. It just is this normal weirdness, and I absolutely love it. Kind of some Lovecraftian stuff at work. Sunless Skies is the sci-fi take on it, where Sunless Seas has you piloting or manning a ship through this eternal ocean. Sunless Skies is colonizing space with all these weird things.
Okay, so we're gonna get into our next genre, which is shooters. So these are a lot of games that we have talked about a little bit before in the past. But the very first one on the list is a big one. It's Far Cry 5. I know this is very much up your alley. You've been really excited for the next Far Cry coming up. I'm going to try my best to not get this one, because the last couple of times I bought Far Cry, I played for about 5 or 6 hours and I never touched it again. But
so weird. I love Far Cry.
So I know you're super excited for this one. So how about you want to talk about the quick description?
Far Cry 5 is the latest Far Cry, obviously. There's a certain format that they've sort of sunk into since 3, where it's basically you have an overarching narrative, but you're in this world, you're protagonist, and there are little outposts along the way. That's kind of become the game of clearing outposts, where you have a bunch of tools, weapons, whatever at your disposal.
Elephants,
and it's kind of
tigers.
the fun of what animals do. Tools and weapons. Yeah, depending on the game. And you're basically exploring this massive world of outposts and clearing them out, kind of literally cleaning the map up. And Far Cry 5 takes place in rural Montana?
Yep, Montana.
I think it's Montana.
Yep, it's
and
Montana.
it's strangely topical because there's this kind of pseudo extremely right
very much right wing kind of borderline racist
neo-Nazi-ish
yeah, KKK
cult has sort of taken over this area. We're walking on eggshells here. It's a game that's pissed a lot of people off with its subject matter, and I'm so thrilled to play this game. I am so excited for so many reasons to play this game. I love the concept of a Far Cry taking place in America.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a new Far Cry game. If it is literally, this is so rare, but if it is literally unchanged, because 4 is exactly the same game as 3 with like 2 or 3 new things. If it's exactly the same as 4 with 2 or 3 new things, I'm gonna love it. I don't want them to shake things up. I don't want any changes. I really want, yeah, sure. Oh, this one you have a dog. Great, awesome. The dog can go fetch guns from an enemy that he's killed. Great, awesome. You know, give me all the other same stuff, and cool. That's all I need.
Yep, and I'll just watch you play that. We'll just have fun swapping off between the controllers. But yeah, I do agree that the one thing I really do love about this game is that A, it's taking place in the U.S., and B, what they're doing with the subject matter of the storyline. Really,
I'm afraid they're probably not going to do much. They're not going to like
not. They're
take
probably going to push
chances.
the envelope, but it's I like at least what they're doing, at least in terms of inspiration.
Yeah, it's like Wolfenstein. It's like, well, they did it.
Yeah.
You know.
Metro Exodus. This is a next game in the Metro series. Metro is a post-apocalyptic game where, once again, everything kind of went to almost like a nuclear winter, but it actually caused, but it was more supernatural than that. It was actually kind of demonic in the creatures and the presences in the game. So it's almost kind of like, it's a first-person horror game where initially you're a Russian protagonist that's actually living in the subway, which is why it's called Metro, because subway, Metro. And yeah, it's kind of where you're stationed, and anytime you left the Metro to go to the surface, it was highly irradiated. The air was too poisonous to even like breathe, so on and so forth. So this is just the next game on the list. They're really great games. They're amazing games. I really at least appreciate the first game, but I wet myself every time I play it, so I don't play it that often, nor did I complete it. It's also very difficult, but once you get into it, it's a really great game. Like, this is one of my favorite games to watch, but it's like one of those games you watch with like popcorn in a blanket that's like you hold like right at like halfway point of your eye so that you can just go like just to kind of protect yourself. But
as usual, not my jam.
Neither is mine, but I actually did buy it because it really just is an extremely well done game.
I mean, that's sort of Prey is where I'm like riding the line, because it's like that's a game literally based on jump scares. That's like the core of the game, but it's almost like the desensitization that happens where it's like, okay, yeah, oh no,
another mimic,
yeah.
Warhammer Vermintide 2, another game on my list. This one I'm very excited for because Warhammer Vermintide 2 is basically Left 4 Dead in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, where you play one of 5 heroes, or basically one of 5 players, races and classes, and you just go through and destroy Skavens, which are basically giant rat people. You just chug through them just like zombies in Left 4 Dead. You get your blood, their blood goes everywhere. You use axes, swords, arrows, daggers, fire magic, all sorts of stuff. They have specialty creatures that you go up against, and there's always objective-based maps. So in every map, you're trying to do an objective and trying not to die, just like in Left 4 Dead.
Video games.
Vermintide 2.
That's the second video games of the night.
Yeah. Vermintide 2, very much a lot, more of the same stuff, but this time they're actually going to add in a few extra people. I think they actually are adding in chaos in this game, so there should be additional enemies to see in this one, but super excited for this. It got a lot of great reception in the very first one, which people were kind of iffy to see how it would do. It actually went above and beyond what everyone wanted, so Vermintide 2, hopefully really, really great. Strange Brigade. This is a 1930s colonial safari adventure co-op shooter. Tom.
Yeah, so talk about games like Left 4 Dead. It's a co-op game where it's, you and friends, but
this game,
the premise is like that early 20th century, like, we're going on an adventure kind of culture and stylings, Indiana Jones kind of stuff. I'm just excited for that alone.
Yeah, it's kind of, once again, kind of like a Left 4 Dead alike, where that genre, but you're maybe going against Egyptian, Nubian monsters kind of things, and Sneeze is gonna leave right now. Okay, we're good. So,
I love video games too, Ren. That's why we're here.
Overkill's The Walking Dead. This is a game I actually teased, I think right before end of the year countdown. So this is a game, even though it sounds like The Walking Dead, you might be thinking Telltale or things like that. This is a open world survival horror game that's set actually in the Walking Dead universe. So you actually play
also co-op.
Yes, it's a 4-person co-op game that you actually play in the Walking for Dead universe. So you're in DC.
Walking for Dead.
Walking for Dead. The Walking Dead universe.
We'll walk for dead.
What do we want walked? What do we want them brains? 4-player co-op.
Don't dead, open inside.
4-player co-op in Washington, D.C. We don't know too much more besides that, but it actually looks like an interesting game. I'm actually interested to see where they go with it, because this might be a cool co-op game that like we would be playing and things like that. Because it kind of looks a lot like the games. Oh my god, the games that you've been really liking that you talked about before. Like, it looks like a lot of games that a different take on a couple of the open world zombie games are.
State of Decay?
State of Decay is one of them. There's another one that's coming out too, another sequel that's coming out that was from a very popular game. All kind of similar but different, if you want to look at it that way. So if you liked one of them, you're probably going to like just about all of them. Deep Rock Galactic. This is a game that I put on here just because when I found it, I was instantly intrigued. This is a 4-player co-op dungeon crawler, but you play one of 4 dwarves in space, and the enemies at which you're shooting are mining nodes. It's a 4-person dungeon crawling shooter where you're 4 dwarves trying to mine.
My note on this when we were doing kind of our individual research was, this looks right up Brian's alley.
This is just a fun, cool little game. It's a completely different topic, and I think you might also take out enemies with your same mining equipment, but you're trying to get through an asteroid by mining it. That's really what this game is.
If you were building a space station in the meantime, this would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a really fun. It's a fun little game. I'm actually hoping it does pretty well. Now, Left Alive. This is the next big Square Enix game with Front Mission spiritual successor, technical mech combat ? There's a whole bunch of question marks. This is a game.
Yeah, I never was sure if it was confirmed that this is a successor to the Front Mission series.
That's the problem.
At least in concept.
This game's marketing strategy thus far has been, let's confuse as many people as possible by giving them as little information as possible. So
Kojima.
We just know the people that work on it, and we kind of know the subject matter it's taking part of, and that's it. Even the teaser trailers are just like, text screen, fade in, fade out. Another text screen, fade in, fade out. Guy running by a mech, and then end. It's like...
Yeah, the very little
am I
bits
the guy?
of...
Am I the mech? What is it?
Yeah, the very little bits of recognizable imagery look like the same mechs as the Front Mission games, but Front Mission was a, top-ish down and tactical strategy game where you were saying a chessboard, right? Mech go here, now their mech goes here, poo poo poo, oh no, and this looks a little bit more actiony, so I don't know if this is an actual sequel or if it's a reimagining or what it is.
Your guess is as good as mine. And with that, we'll close up the shooters.
We'll pop a cap on it, as it were. Adventure games. So adventure games, which basically means Telltale games. There's the final season of The Walking. There's the final season of The Walking Dead games, which is the 4th season of it. They're calling it literally the final season. So it's interesting because I remember when Telltale opened the door about 4 or 5 years ago of, we're going to be making a Batman game and a Game of Thrones game and a Guardians of the Galaxy game and Minecraft game. They just like bought up 1,000 billion licenses, and now they have so many plates spinning. That's nice to actually see. Here's the last one of this, So and The Walking Dead is the one that really kind of, they had been making games before, but this one really sort of elevated them. So that's happening. Also, so excited. Season 2 of The Wolf Among Us, which is my favorite Telltale game series. Sorry, Ren. The Wolf Among Us is adapted from the Fables comic book series, where it takes fairy tales and puts them in modern day, but actually technically the 80s, New York City. And it's as ugly as you think it would be. Like, you are literally playing Big B Wolf, who's the big bad wolf. It's humanized versions of these creatures or these characters. And it's grim, truthfully. It's very dark. It's a murder mystery. It's bloody. It's disgusting. It's uncomfortable. It's what would happen if all these fairy tales were really true to their grim fairy tale origins, but living as modern day people in the modern age. It's an amazing concept, and they do a good job with it with the first season, I guess, of The Wolf Among Us. So I'm looking forward to season 2. Also coming out is A Way Out. This is a game that made waves during E3 last year, which is this very cinematic, going even further back. It's kind of like 70s styled.
Prison Break.
I almost said heist.
Yeah,
Prison Break.
Prison Break thriller.
Where it's co-op. The core of it is that it's two characters, and you are controlling the two characters, and there's more to it than just that. It's like there's intentional stuff with like the way the screen is framed, and this character is doing this while this character is doing that. And you see them both on the screen at the same time. Very visual, very striking. Again, kind of 70s cinema stuff.
This was kind of like one of those almost everyone's most excited game coming out of E3. It was like
a lot of people are hyped for this. And also another one that I'm still majorly hyped for, which is The Last Night. This is I have this with upper lowercase. That one sexy cyberpunk game there. So it's that game that's very stylish 8-bit. It's like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's 8-bit, but with like dimensions. It's got different planes of 8-bit. It's not just a flat thing. It's like the camera actually is panning and zooming, but it still is flat 8-bit, like parallaxing and things like that. A lot of weather effects. I'm assuming that it just probably tells a linear story and is probably a very on-rails thing, but I'm okay with that. It's a very, 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 very attractive game.
Mm-hmm. And going into stopping the adventure for now, going on to strategy games.
Is that really your strategy?
Damn it, you one-up me.
Going on to strategy games.
I'll give you that one. Strategy games, a little bit more of the same, some new, some old. Age of War, God damn it. Age of Empires is coming back.
Listen, it's got one of those titles.
I'm watching
War, Age of Title
War.
So many,
but Age of Empires is coming back in Age of Empires 4. So this is a continuation of the Age of Empires RTS that we both grew up knowing and loving. We've kind of talked about this before, but once again, it's going to be, StarCraft, but not StarCraft. It's a StarCraft RTS version of a game that's really just...
Well, it's like Civ, I guess, but more on the straight-up combat side. Where
Yeah, I mean, you have
more focus on
you have kind of like a node and you have nodes and grids kind of like Civ, but the combat and control is kind of like StarCraft. It's,
Yes,
It's exactly. Live combat, not tile-based combat.
Yeah, where Civ is more like you're building your empire. It's turn-based. Age of Empires. Which is funny. We've talked about this before. It was kind of like there was a forking path where it was like Age of Empires and Rise of Nations.
Yes.
I threw my chips in with Rise of Nations, but they're essentially the same exact game.
they're pretty darn close. They're kind of the same but different visuals, things like that. But Age of Empires 4, I'm actually very excited for that. I really hope it does well because I really hope RTS comes back, please. But okay. Phoenix Point. This is a really interesting one because Phoenix Point is a game from the Julian Group, or Gollop.
Julian Gollop, yeah.
Julian Gollop, who was one of the original creators of the original XCOM. And this game looks very, very, very similar to XCOM.
Exactly like XCOM.
But it's not...
It's weird that he's not getting, like, called out
for this. But yeah, you're basically...
Or I guess, I don't know, it depends on who you ask.
Yeah, I mean, but once we had this conversation before of can you own a monopoly on a genre? But once again,
it's more than just a genre. It's the aesthetic. It looks
a lot like it. Yeah.
The display, the HUD is literally XCOM.
Yeah. So once again, you're a group of soldiers that go against, instead of doing aliens this time, looks more along the lines of supernatural beings, supernatural monsters kind of thing. But if you like XCOM in terms of the look, the control, the interface, you're probably gonna like the Phoenix Point. So
I'm curious to learn what more might set this apart, because XCOM certainly has a very specific.
It does look like a cool
formula.
game. I mean, This looks like a game that I would very much like. I'm just hoping to see exactly what they do with it. Like, is there going to be something new about it? Total War Saga: Thrones of Britannia. So
what a title!
Yeah, Total War Saga is their new kind of like, I don't know. Total War Saga is a new installment of within Total War that's basically, instead of doing games, Total War Saga is going to be like a genre now. It's going to be like a little mini series underneath.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, so Total War Saga is, instead of doing a bunch of massive standalone games, they're going to give you quote-unquote sagas, which are almost like mini extensions to games, or a new campaign
like Rogue
to a
One.
game. Or they're going to take a game that's already been established, Rome 2, Total War Empires, things like that, and they're just going to make a -5 or a half, or they're going to do a quick add-on to it.
Yeah, it's the Rogue One, a Star Wars story of Total War.
Yeah, so the very first one is going to be Thrones of Britannia. So this is going to be kind of similar to a Rome Total War kind of game, but slightly different. So that's kind of what it is. It's going to be the very first ever Saga game when they announced it in 2017. Warhammer 40k, Gladius, Relics of War.
Really? These titles, like...
They're mouthfuls. Warhammer 40k, Gladius, Relics of War is like basically a 40k met Civ. It's a grid-based world game set in the Warhammer 40k universe where you play 4 different races. Space Marines, Imperial Guard, I believe Orcs, and... No, Chaos, and... Oh my god, Necrons. So... should be interesting. Is it Orcs? It's one of the two. I can't remember. But you play 4 different groups. So if you like 40k, if you like Civ, it's probably going to be right up your alley. This is a game that I'm keeping close watch on. And now a game that we both are through the roof excited for. Jurassic World Evolution. Now, this is, once again, Roller Coaster Tycoon, but with dinosaurs. It's a Jurassic Park...
theme park management in the Jurassic World license.
Exactly, and oh my god, am I excited for this.
Yeah.
There's really not much more to be said about it. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. There was a original attempt at this very early on in the millennia that I bought and loved. I'm surprised it took so long to re-update it, but we're both extremely excited for it and hope it comes out super soon, because
this is literally, like, if not my most hyped game of the year, my second most hyped game of the year. Like, I need this. Yeah, theme park management, but with and it's an official one. It's an official Jurassic Park, Jurassic World one. So it's like,
it's not just like,
how has this not happened before?
Yeah, it's a full-on, full IP, approved Jurassic Park management.
I hope they have a perspective camera, like perspective of a
if it's
park goer.
If it's like the original one, it should.
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon has had that since at least 3, and that was over 10 years ago. So that's probably 15 years ago. So our final section is survival and exploration, which is a really kind of umbrella, like miscellaneous genre.
Everything else group.
Yeah. Hunt Showdown, which I hadn't ever heard of, but this is an interesting concept. PvP and PvE, competitive bounty hunting. This is made by Crytek. So it's like you are with other players, you get, I guess, marks, you get NPC, whatever you want to call it, enemies that you shoot, you kill, whatever, you take down. And then all of a sudden you turn on each other. Like the players first go from being, oh, we've got to kill these monsters or whatever, to, oh, now we got to kill each other. That's what I'm getting from it. So that sounds like an interesting. The question with multiplayer stuff is always longevity, but it sounds like it might have at least an interesting arc of, oh, people trying it out on curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Monster Hunter World, this is one of those games like Sonic Mania, or anytime a Mega Man game is out there, it's like my Twitter feed just, oh my god, it's Monster Hunter! I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's nice. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's great. I honestly am sure it's great. But there is like a sub-community of Monster Hunter fans that I just like, I miss that train. Like, oh my god, people feel passionately about this game. That being said, oh my god, Ooblets is coming out this year, and I'm so freaking excited. I cannot wait. This is so cute. I love Ooblets. I cannot wait for Ooblets. It's just, I don't even know like anything about it, but I want to play it. It's this really cute little creature management, go out and collect the creatures and have them on your little farm, and they're adorable, and the developers are rad, and they are always posting cute gifs of this game. It's a very gifable looking game, so I want to play Ooblets. I love Ooblets. I love it. Dauntless co-op monster hunting. Team of you and your friends go out and take down the big monster. So that's a thing. Sea of Thieves looks exciting.
You said Monster Hunter World and Dauntless are the same but different. They're very similar games, but they go about it in different ways.
Yeah, Monster Hunter World is got that JRPG kind of feel, or very Japanese styled video game kind of feel to it, where it's like pretty boy hero with the big weapon takes down the weird looking monster. Dauntless is a little bit more like
like a boss battle game. It's almost like every iteration is a boss battle, and you and your friends had to figure out how to kill it.
Pray for the Gods, which is now spelled Praey, I think, because of copyright.
Yeah.
Probably with Prey, with Bethesda.
Yeah,
or
copyright
Arcane
claim
or something.
Yeah. Copyright claim was the only reason why.
We talked about this game a lot last year. It's basically Shadow of the Colossus in the snow.
It's Shadow of the Colossus in the snow with survival elements. So
cool.
Instead of being told where the colossi are, you have to figure out like what you're doing. You have to figure out how to survive. And you have to track them down and things like that. You don't really know what the motivation for the world is. You just know that you're in there and you got to kill these things.
Life.
So yeah, it's kind of, I think it's once again kind of story driven.
And we kind of touched on this earlier, but State of Decay 2 is coming out this year. State of Decay is easily my favorite zombie game. There's not much to sell it. It's really like, your group of survivors. You're playing one at a time, but you can switch between any survivors, and as you take new ones in, you can switch between playing as them. They each have their kind of strengths, and they're randomly generated, their strengths and weaknesses. But it's basically just a survive as long as you can kind of zombie game. You go out into these villages and countryside and whatever, and gather resources, come back, build up defenses. Zombies are just always out there. So it's just kind of a game that you play as long as you want to be in the fantasy of zombie survival, rather than having like, oh, the zombies will attack you at night. It just kind of is like daily life in a zombie apocalypse, which doesn't get done a lot. It's usually there's a specific drive, oh, now you got to get to this part. Oh, now there's The Walking Dead. There's a narrative. This is just, how long do you think you could survive a zombie apocalypse? So State of Decay 2 is the sequel to that. And so I am excited for it.
And that's going to close us out of our 2018 preview. And like we said before, this is not all-encompassing. There's probably games that we have left out. If there is a game we left out and you are particularly interested in it, please send us a tweet, email, leave us a comment or anything else, and we'll make sure to include it next week.
I do want to say, I'm hoping some point this year, not massively expecting it, but hoping for an announcement on whatever the next Dragon Age might be.
Ooh.
That would be real.
That would be pretty rad. Yeah.
That would be pretty freaking rad, because they certainly, no spoils, but they certainly have left it open for more adventures specifically after Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to see what they do. I'm sure BioWare is throwing all of their chips in with Anthem right now, but
yeah, because they cannibalize all of the Mass Effect development teams.
That's right, because Alexis Kennedy, who is one of the Failbetter guys, so Sunless Seas, Sunless Skies, Fallen London, he's one of the kind of chief creative directors there, was talking recently about writing he was doing for a Dragon Age related project. Yeah. And it was one of those, like, we can neither confirm nor deny that this is Dragon Age 4, whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Inquisition is a game that if you dig it, it pulls you in, Ren. I don't know if you've been or if you've been aware of the fact that because you're new to our crew, but Brian here has strong opinions about Inquisition.
It was a waste of my money. I bounced off of that game so hard it wasn't even funny.
And you also bounced off of Andromeda for similar reasons. So it is a game.
I like
game
Andromeda
style,
longer than Inquisition.
But you do have a problem with kind of like the style of the game. It's not necessarily
even the
narrative
style. Everything about Inquisition was just
I will literally
wrong.
Fight you with my actual fists.
Everything about Inquisition for me was just wrong. That's basically just didn't get much further than that. Nothing about the game I enjoyed. Inquisition, or Andromeda, I enjoyed the original concept of it. I enjoy the original missions and combat and things like that. There's enough there to make me get through it. But for Inquisition, it was so far departed from the original Dragon Age, as well as its original inspiration, especially when it went from the traditional combat systems to this new weird action-packed 4-person 4-button action key combat system. It just was completely it was just bad. I just don't understand. I would love to know why people like it, because I just could not find positives in it whatsoever. So that was just me. It's not that I'm like disinvaluating or invalidating anyone else's opinion of it. I just personally it was too much open world checklist, do these things in this meager vanilla manner. Like, nothing I did in any one of the locations ever made me go, oh, that was a cool fetch quest. It was all just go over here, do this thing, go over here, do a very similar thing to that thing. And it's just like,
Okay, since we're on like my favorite topic, I got a couple things. One is I've compared before a lot on here. The Dragon Age games are kind of like Linkin Park albums for me, where it's like Dragon Age Origins is like Hybrid Theory or maybe more specifically Meteora, where it's just like, oh my god, that game was a place and a time. That was a game that I was playing that at the exact right time in my life to love it. That just is like a banner game for me. Dragon Age Origins, I often have said, is my favorite video game.
And I would agree with that.
I'm inclined to stick with it.
Origins. Absolutely one of my favorite games.
Dragon Age 2 was a lot of people's first experience. It was the last Jedi of Dragon Age, as it were, where it went in two directions. People either said, oh, okay, I'm maybe on board with this. This is different, but okay, there's enough familiarity where I'm still into this. Which is kind of where I was. Actually, I really liked Dragon Age 2. I really, really liked Dragon Age 2, but I knew every conscious moment of it. I was like, oh, this is a very different kind of game. Okay. And so kind of go back to the Linkin Park, it's like minutes to midnight. Like, oh, this is going in a different direction. And some people tuned right out and said, done. That's not what I want from this. Fair enough. Dragon Age Inquisition was like, if you liked Dragon Age 2, here's like the most perfectly realized version of that. It's now got its own identity. It's not quite as generic as Dragon Age Origins. I liked Dragon Age Origins because it was a little bit more generic, and a little bit more Tolkien-esque, a little bit more Baldur's Gate, Forgotten Realmsy. But Inquisition was just like 2's aesthetics and concepts ramped all the way up for an immense campaign. And I also had the thing of Inquisition where I was going in with my own story beforehand.
Oh, I tried.
Well, I have a very specific canon kind of story as to who my Inquisitor was, where he came from, what he was looking for in life, and that colored his decisions. I usually tend to play games that's like, okay, what would I go with? But this was kind of much more getting into the mind of this character, who, long story short, is the son of my Dragon Age Origins character, and he doesn't know it. And so it's like, I was able to find little things, even though that has nothing to do with the game's narrative. I was able to find little things into myself and to this wonderful little text doc that I have saved on my computer. I was like, oh, when he talks to this NPC, he's realized that such and such, and maybe his father is still alive. Of course, his father is still alive in Skyrim, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Inquisition to me was a game that was 50% fun because I liked Inquisition, but also 50% fun because I was, just like with Origins, crafting my own very specific story.
And maybe that's what it was. There is very, very few mechanics in Inquisition that I actually enjoyed experiencing.
Did you play it with a controller?
Yes, I believe I did. I think I tried both. I can't actually remember. It's been so long ago, and I played so little of that game. I played what I thought was a decent amount of that game, and I have one of those realizations of, why am I still playing this? Because it wasn't even like it was that bad. I was getting zero enjoyment from it. So I'm like, I don't know why I'm just like doing this because I have it. I spent money on it, and I feel like I have to play it. Like I said, my biggest gripe with it was that I felt like I spent 90% of that game completing a checklist, and none of it was enjoyable. At least for me personally. I know some people love seeing lines go across the page of things that got done.
I like that.
I don't mind it in certain cases, but this game was way too much. It was way too heavy-handed with it.
There were maybe... it's funny. I had a similar thing going on where you're saying, why am I still playing it? But it was, why am I still playing it as in, I love this game, I want my life back. Like, I am enjoying this so much, but I really have other things to do. But I really just want to be playing this,
No.
So it was like, it was exactly what you're saying, but completely the opposite.
Yeah. As soon as I had that realization, I even remember the map it was on. It was on that weird, like, haunted, undead, like, misty swamp map.
Oh, where you step in the water and the undead come out every time you say, oh.
I got almost done that map and was going, what am I doing? Why?
What sleep? I've lost that knowledge. You had to forego sleep to learn all of the intricate controls for it, obviously. That's, it's just brain, conservation of matter. It's so you got to give something up. So it's sleep. So I'm going through that with Okami right now.
So with all that was our 2018 preview with a little bit of Dragon Age BioWare talk, because it wouldn't be a Addicted to Loot episode without it. But thank you all for joining us for our 2018 preview. Please let us know if we let anything out.
Love you guys.
You can get everything on this episode and more at our website, which is at Addicted to Loot, which is addictedtoloot.com.
At www.
www.addictedtoloot.com. You can find links to this show, both the audio and video versions of this show. You can get links to our iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. You can get links to our VODs on Twitch and on YouTube as well. We export to both. You can get links to our Facebook, YouTube, and our Twitch to join us live. You can send us an email, which is addictedtoloot@gmail.com. You can hang out with us on Twitter. Our group Twitter for all things Addicted to Loot, mainly for announcements, is at Addicted to Loot. If you want to hang out with us individually, I'm at ATL_Tomic0. Tom is at TOMALITY. And
two more things before we seal it up. I don't know why I'm doing the diva pose.
And two more things before we seal it up.
Two more things before we seal it up. In case you missed it at the beginning of the episode, we now have a bundle or a collection on itch.io for all of our free games of the week. So if you want to just have them all in a neat and tidy place, or you've missed one or anything like that, anytime we feature a free game of the week that comes from itch.io, it can be found on this bundle. You can get the link to that bundle on our website, but it also will be in the show notes of this episode. Yep. As always with the show notes of each episode, we link to the games that we talk about, although we might not do that with ones like this. That's where we talk about 58 games. And the other thing is, thank you so much for the new channel art. This has been so nice to see this. And one last thing, we kind of have talked about this. We've got some stuff going on right now with Steam that's in the works that we'll be announcing shortly. Mm-hmm. But if you guys are interested at all, we're kind of apprehensive towards it. So just not to let that color your opinions. But I know people do this. If you guys want anything like a Discord channel for us, we would be more than happy to set that
if
up.
You guys
just let us know.
If you guys are interested in kind of like hanging out and having like a 24/7 continuous version of just hanging out with us or this podcast, just to talk about anything that we cover on this podcast in the version of a live Discord server, please let us know and we will gladly set one up and get a posting out there.
I will say right out of the gate, I don't use Discord, but if there was enough interest, I certainly would. You do.
I use a lot of Discord.
So there you go. There's our community manager right there. But also, as always, the easiest way to kind of get in touch with me is on Twitter and with us.
But thank you very much for joining us for the very first episode of the Digital Loot Podcast, episode 68 of 2018. And as always,
keep it. Inquisition was okay.
No, it wasn't.